start here, right? Jackie, tell me when you're ready.
I've done papers. Are you gonna?
I'll do it again.
Are you gonna?
In
do
accordance with Section 5 of the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Laws 1975, be advised that notice of this meeting was made by posting on the bulletin board at Town Hall and serving the officially designated newspapers a notice stating that this meeting would take place at Town Hall at 7:30 p.m. on February 19, 2019. Please stand to salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Ms. Burstein?
Here.
Mr. Levy?
Here.
Ms. Lieberberg?
Here.
Ms. Lucas?
Here.
And Mayor Falanga?
Here. May I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Move to approve the agenda.
May I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? May I have a motion to approve the October 16th, 2018 Special Township Committee minutes?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? May I have a motion to approve the November 20th, 2018 Township Committee minutes?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Mr. Levy will be presenting a proclamation.
Is there anyone here to receive the proclamation? Aye.
Where should I stand? Let me stand here so we can.
Camera will want to see you, so.
Okay.
Whereas over 2.5 million people in the United States each year sustain a traumatic brain injury, and whereas brain injury is one of the leading causes of death and disability in the country, devastating families emotionally, financially, and whereas the most common causes of brain injury are motor vehicle collisions, simple falls, and blunt force trauma. The only cure for brain injury is prevention through public awareness and education. The Opportunity Project, Inc., is helping to educate the community through display and dissemination of brain injury information and the hosting of local events. Now therefore, be it resolved that the Township of Millburn Committee, on behalf of the residents of Millburn Township Committee, does hereby proclaim the month of March 2019 as Brain Injury Awareness Month in the Township of Millburn, and encourage all citizens to support and learn more about the effects of brain injury. Signed by Diane Falletto, Millburn Township Mayor. For you.
Sorry, for my back. Hi, everybody. I'm Julie London from Opportunity Project. We're right in town, the Millburn Township, right down on East Willow Street, by the shop right down there. I just wanted to say thank you so very much for all your support throughout the years to the committee. I'm here every year. Well, I've been with Opportunity Project 3 years now. Tell people a little bit about what the consequences are, what kinds of programs we have in place for recovery for people with brain injury. So if you get a moment, please visit our website at opportunityproject.org, and you can see our listing of events. But back as usual every year, we look for organizations that maybe hold a Blue Jean Day for us, which is basically wear green or wear jeans, and everyone that participates gets entered into the raffle. And we have another new event this year, which is with King's Food Markets. And basically, if you mention brain injury awareness the last week in March, we get a percentage of the proceeds back to our cause. So check out our website. We have a lot of other events, basically, again, to generate some awareness for brain injury awareness, for the cause, for brain injured individuals. And thank you again for your support. Thank you for listening, everybody. Thank you to the committee. Appreciate it. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you. So I'll see you March 1st. You'll have an open house that day.
That's right.
Right.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah.
Right.
We don't get a huge attendance, but on March 1st, Mayor come to our facility and she'll present this again to our members, and they really like it because it's very important that, we're we're actually making a proclamation and making everybody aware. So that's on March 1st at 11 o'clock, and it really is open to everybody to come to our clubhouse for that.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's see. Reports. So I'll start, get that over with. So first, welcome everyone tonight. Just so you know, the Paper Mill has a fabulous new production, My Very Own British Invasion, which is loosely based on the story of Peter Noon of Herman Hermits, which was really fun. Great music, a lot of fun at the show. Alex and I met last week down at County with Joe D., the executive, and his staff to discuss different items affecting Millburn. We discussed Essex County's open space tax. These dollars are used to support the Essex County Park System. Concerts at county parks, Turtleback Zoo, the South Mountain Reservation are just a few of the examples. We are in the process of submitting a grant through NJDEP for county matching funds that can be used to renew Taylor Park, new paths, lightings, and plantings. We can also use these monies to open the Millburn Avenue entrance, of course keeping the large tree as a gateway focal point. I know that tree is very special to a lot of people. The DPW has done a lot to clean out the underbrush and the weeds along Millburn Avenue, but so much more should be accomplished there to beautify and open up that whole parkscape to Millburn Avenue. We reminded the county of the desperate need for repaving of Ultra Hills Road and Parsonage Hill Road, and we asked them to please keep this at one of their highest priorities when paving starts in the spring, and they assured us they will, and we are very thankful for that commitment. We also discussed the county putting a traffic light at the intersection at White Oak Ridge and Hobart Avenue. There are some logistical components that must be addressed, and our town engineer is working on them. But this intersection has met the warrants for a traffic light. I have received a copy of a petition addressing concerns of safety issues at the schools. I have a meeting set with Superintendent Burton for this week. The PTOC has a subcommittee that is specific to safety concerns at our schools. There are several things the Township Committee will be doing moving forward. We will have a Township Committee representative attending their monthly meetings to hear their concerns. Committeewoman Lieberberg went last week, thank you, and Committeewoman Pupris will be attending hereafter. Thank you. They will get to you for their schedule. Secondly, we are in the process of putting together a new town policy that will allow residents a mechanism to communicate specific areas of concerns in their neighborhoods. We feel that residents know their neighborhoods best. An example, and I'll just say, if Tom and Sally feel that they would like a stop sign at their intersection, we'll ask that they gather support from their neighbors. If there's valid and substantial buy-in from the surrounding neighbors, we can then take appropriate actions. For instance, having first our in-house engineer investigate, and if there's suitable findings, then we can choose to task our professional town's traffic engineer firm to follow up and make further recommendations if necessary. This will ensure efficient and effective evaluation of traffic concerns around the neighborhoods. The newly formed PACS Committee will be having its first meeting later this week, and I would like to clarify its first task and initial purpose, which is to assess and address and advise the Township Committee on areas that have been left incomplete and troublesome post-construction. We will start by looking at the downtown area, and we can expand the scope moving forward, but we have to have a starting point, and we feel this is where it's going to be. Separately, our engineering department is studying the Short Hills train station. We are looking at parking, lighting, access in and out of the parking lots, as well as pedestrian and vehicular circulation. This is a big undertaking which will involve proper planning and construction. So we will be scheduling an open public information session at the library in the next few weeks. We are concerned with pedestrians and vehicular interaction and circulation. Both must be addressed together. In the meantime, we continue to ask our residents to please slow down while driving. And pedestrians, please use caution where you're crossing and use your cell phone's flashlight app as soon as dusk hits. We all need to be committed to this effort in safety, from the efforts that will be undertaken by the Township Committee, by Town Hall, and by all of us that drive and walk throughout the township. The Millburn train station will be looked at by PACS insofar as downtown circulation. However, it's more complicated for several reasons. First, these are county roads, and second, we do not own that parking lot on Essex Street. That's part of that building. We will definitely need to be bringing in professionals to work with us here and make the right decisions, what to do about the circulation and people doing pickup and drop-off at the Millburn train station. I hope I have covered the community's concerns that I've been hearing about safety at our schools, train stations, neighborhoods, and downtown. Please know that we are hearing your concerns, and I am committed to addressing, assessing, and advising the township moving forward. So that's the AAA list, and we're going to do it. We're going to all work together, and we're going to find consensus and do the right thing. So thank you for coming out. Committeeman Bergstein, do you have any reports?
I have no reports.
Committeewoman Lieberberg?
I have a couple of reports. As Diane mentioned, I attended the PTOC traffic meeting that was held last Friday. And the short version is that the discussions included the implementation of the new safety procedures around the middle school, which will take effect, I believe, Monday, February 25th. Law enforcement and members of the Knollwood Civic Association will be on hand to assist with the new traffic pattern. Other issues that were mentioned at this meeting was the snow removal around Deerfield School and one of their local residents, and enforcement of sidewalk snow removal to ensure that the entrance and the walkways and the pathways to the Deerfield School were accessible. Two other things that were mentioned was the southern slope and beach intersection by South Mountain School needs to be reviewed and looked at more closely with traffic cones to ensure student and pedestrian safety, particularly at the end of the day at the pickup. And Wyoming also was mentioned, that the pickup procedure, so they will be working closely with the principal there as well, and to enable parents a more easier and a streamlined procedure. I also want to mention that the Book House on Sunday will be holding a special event, Pies in Literature. There will be a pie contest. This will take place at 3 o'clock at the Book House. The sponsors are the Farm and Fork Society, as well as the Book House. And Eva Nadiello will be reading from her book called The Memory Box. And she will be talking about the symbolism of pies in literature. And that will be held at 3 o'clock. It's open to all community members. So please come out and attend. Thank you.
Thank you. Committeewoman Rufus?
I do. I have a report.
Please.
I have a report. On Tuesday, February 6th, I attended the Joint Fields Committee meeting. The topic of a discussion was the fields in the township. So right now, we are in negotiations with East Orange to acquire some field space. At the same time, we're working with the school board to try to figure out which fields in town would be most appropriate to turf. And with the different fields, there's a little bit of issues kind of with each field. So we're exploring those two avenues, and then if we can't, we'll know soon about the East Orange negotiations. And if that doesn't happen, then we're going to start discussing what turfing the entire high school field would look like. So we're talking about it. Things are moving in some direction.
Thank you. Anything else?
That's it.
Okay, movement's good. Thank you. Committeeman Levy?
Yes, the Board of Rec Commissioners met and also addressed those topics, and perhaps have more jurisdiction over those issues than the Joint Fields Committee does. And there are some discussions going on with regard to what, if any, field in Millburn may be turfed to add a new playing field, and what, if any, field may be suitable to have lights on it as well too, including the incumbent costs of those. In addition, as we previously reported, the Giro Park Playground was renovated ahead of schedule given the favorable weather. It is now open. There will be an official spring opening with ice cream and some carnival things, a date to be determined. It has been determined by the Board of Rec Commissioners, which will present to the Township Committee, that special event permits for 25 persons or more for our parks will be required, including insurance requirements. The forms are being worked on. They will include certain categories of information that will be provided in terms of who's attending, what the purpose of the event is, whether there'll be music, what kind of music, opening, closing, cleanup, things like that. That'll be presented to the Township Committee for 25 persons or more. It was decided by the Board of Rec Commissioners. 2 donations to report. A lacrosse safety net was donated to Giro Park, and the Little League Field C scoreboard was donated by a resident, anonymous resident in town. That concludes my report of the Board of Rec. Mayor.
Thank you. Alex?
No reports, Mayor.
Kit? Township Attorney?
You may remember that at the last meeting, I went through the order that Judge Gardner had entered, the scheduling order in connection with the Builders Remedy lawsuit, and that the first milestone date that came up was the February 15th requirement that the Silverman Group file revised plans with the township well, they're kind of cumulative as to the discussions that have taken place thus far, but most especially with respect to the mediation session which was held on January 2nd. They did provide plans, 4 plans, on the 15th. They are going to provide additional plans over the course of this week by Friday, at which point these plans will be reviewed by the Millburn mediation team to see if they are acceptable or not. And then the next step would be to go to the full mediation involving the Silverman Group and, of course, presided over by the special master.
Okay, and as we discussed, that we will be having the special master make a presentation here to our residents before this would go to our township committee to vote on, correct?
Oh, if you arrive at a settlement, that
Right.
is what you have suggested, yes.
Right. Okay. That's it. Anything else?
No.
Okay,
That's all
thank
for me.
you. Okay. Okay. Township, County Representative George, I do see you.
Good evening. Just 2 announcements. The Turtleback Zoo is having a summer camp open house on Saturday, March 9th from 11 to 2. They ask that you register in advance on the zoo's website. There'll be activities. There'll be staff on hand to go over curriculum that'll be taking place during the summer camp. And those that complete each station will get the off-season reduced rate to attend the zoo that day of $8. In addition, the Division of Senior Services is having their annual Legacies Writing Contest open to seniors age 60 and over. The rules for the writing contest can be found on the county's website. The deadline for that contest is Friday, March 15th. And just an update from the last meeting, I was notified by DPW that the push buttons were addressed at the locations on Millburn Avenue and also Wyoming.
Oh, terrific.
That's my report.
Thank you. Okay, public comment. When invited to speak, please come to the lectern, clearly state your name and address, and speak into the podium microphone so that your comments can be understood by all and properly recorded. Whenever an audience or committee member reads from a prepared statement, please give or email a copy to the Township Clerk's Office at cgaddy@millburntwp.org. To help facilitate an orderly meeting and to permit all to be heard, speakers are asked to limit their comments to 3 minutes. Does any member of the public have any comments?
Good evening. My name is Diana Bensol. I live at and own the home at 22 Sunset Drive in Millburn, New Jersey, right here. And we seem to have a big water issue going on. I wasn't sure if you were aware of that or not. I put a tracker into Public Works, tracker number 258 in January, and my neighbor put one in, tracker number 257. It seems that a lot of water is being discharged onto Sunset Drive. It's frozen now. I believe it started in the summer, sometime around when the water works was being worked on above on the other side of the train station. I did call the engineering department. I spoke with Sandy Smith, and she told me that she understands it's a problem with the water company, that they were speaking to them, that there's a leak there. So it is a safety hazard. They did come out and salt the street because it was the only street in town that was totally black ice. The water is just not stopping. It's 24 hours a day, and it started with a little bit of water, and now it's the entire block on the side of the train station. So I did want to know if the township knows about it beyond the engineering department, and if there's a schedule to have it looked into or repaired. It is causing problems already in terms of safety. And I have pictures here that I took where you can see the water, where it's draining to, that it's freezing, and that it's causing a lot of backup. In my particular backyard is turned into a little river, and water, as we know, can be very devastating. And it's very specific to our street. So I did receive a response from Jesse Molman, administrative analyst, when I sent my tracker number in, and I spoke to Sandy Smith, and someone else has spoken to Christine Bugle. So those people at that part of our township have been informed of it, but I wanted the township, you guys, to know about it also, and find out if there's any schedule of repairs and what could be done.
Thank you. I personally did not know about it, but I know all these people, and I will ask about it. And who would be paying for all that water discharge? Is that?
Yeah, so this is a pretty complicated issue in my understanding of it and in speaking to the engineering department.
Yes.
Both Orange Water Company and New Jersey American Water Company have been out to observe this, to figure out what the origin of this water is. It does look like, at this point, that it is a New Jersey American Water issue. We have been in contact with them, and we're asking for an update at this point. They have not gotten back to us at this point on the status of it.
So as a resident of that street, I feel that we should be informed of that because we're living with this. We have no idea what's happening, and it's going on and on. It's affecting my property and other people. Cars are sliding on the street. People are falling on the street. So I would ask that if something like that happens and you have information, that you would be giving it to the residents.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just got this information today from
Okay.
the township engineer dealing with the situation. But
So,
certainly we'll keep you
is there a way to keep us informed, everyone on the street? I will give my information here, so we know what's happening.
Yeah.
And well, if you want information from us as to how things are going, 'cause it's stopping.
Yeah.
It's gotten worse. It's spreading. It's becoming worse.
I think there's an email chain as well, or an email group that is, maybe you're not a part of it, but there have been several people from Sunset contacting us.
So any official information, I would request as a resident, a homeowner in our town, that you keep me informed now that you know as to exactly what's happening, what your plans are, and how we can address it,
Great.
and if we can be of help.
Yeah, if you want to give me your information, I'll take
Sure,
it.
and I have the pictures here of our street recently that you can see.
Sure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for letting us know.
You're welcome.
Hi.
Hi, Phoebe Shear, 101 Oakview Terrace. I wanted to get a little clarification about the builder's remedy lawsuit. We always ask, can you tell us anything about the plan? No. Okay. I would like some clarification about the process. I'm not exactly sure what's happening here. So what will happen is, at some point after these secondary plans, after these additional plans are provided, there will be another mediation session. And will there be a settlement agreed to? Well, this is my question. Will a settlement be agreed to before the matter comes before the township committee? That is my question.
Okay. No, there can't be a settlement. The township committee is, if there is a settlement proposed, would be the body that would approve it.
Can you talk louder?
Oh, I'm sorry. If there were a settlement, the party, the special master has called the parties together to see if there might be a basis to resolve the case.
So it would be a proposal for the settlement.
If it comes to that point, that there in agreement and the special master reports to the court, it looks like the parties are in agreement, then the process would be that a settlement agreement would then have to be formulated, but that would come down the road to the township committee for approval on behalf of Millburn.
I guess my concern is that it's when you throw in the sentences like, looks like the parties would be in agreement. It makes it sound like there will be an agreement before there's information provided to the residents about the agreement. In other words, we're a bit concerned that it'll be a done deal before,
No.
you know,
Wait,
we get to know about it.
That's the agreement that I had come up with Mr. Cosgrove, that we, the mediation committee, if we feel it is a good agreement, we will bring it to the residents and have a meeting, a township committee meeting, special master and our planner would make a presentation. Then you will have a chance to ask questions, how we got to that decision, and then, and only then will we then, township committee people, take a vote. We will not take a vote before you hear about it.
Okay,
Okay, yeah.
that's good to know, because, you know, people say a lot of things, and
Right.
it might sound like something and
I mean,
turn out to be something else.
That's what you said last time.
Yeah, that's what we said, but it is complicated, and, I mean, I don't know what the agreement's gonna be, and I can't say how people up here are gonna vote on it.
The other thing is that, although, of course, if the town agreed to open up the litigation committee to like one representative from our neighborhood, certainly I think there's one I'm thinking of that we would all trust, you know, and you know, to represent us, and that person could maintain the confidentiality. I mean, there could be an agreement that that person would not further disclose. Is something like that possible? I mean, could it be suggested to the court that, it seems to me that this whole confidentiality thing is really to keep the residents of the community from knowing what's going on, so the residents won't come and mess up, you know, and further complicate the settlement, which is really a way to say the people of the town shouldn't be allowed to know what's happening, because we don't really want them messing us up.
You know, Judge Gardner set this up. I'm sure he had no such.
Well, what was his
or any
reason? What is the reason behind it? I'm curious.
That's the way these negotiations take place.
No, that's not a reason.
Well, it's shown to be fruitful. The parties get together.
Fruitful.
The special master works with them to see if there might
Okay.
be a way to settle.
No, that's
the
not an
matter.
answer. I mean, when you say that's the way we do things, that's not an answer. When we say it's more fruitful if the parties get together, that's what I'm saying.
Can I add, there's also a privilege issue. I mean, you can't have, even if a resident agrees
why?
to maintain confidentiality, because if an attorney conveys a confidential communication to a client, which is the township committee, and there's a third party present, there's no more privilege. No matter how much you swear to keep that confidential, it's still a breach of the
Well, I
privilege.
don't know about that. I think if another
do know about
individual
it, and it is.
agrees not to disclose.
Phoebe, I think it is hard to accept, but this is how government works. You know, we're elected to have to go through the process to come up with a decision, and then you will have a chance to hear it before we vote on it. Mm-hmm. And I've made that, you know, Dave and I came up with that when we met, and the attorney and the business administrator agreed that that is like the next best way to move forward. That's the only way.
Okay, all right. The other thing is that if you're having another litigation committee meeting, I'm wondering if there's an opportunity for some representatives, you know, from our neighborhood or other people who are interested to come, not to listen, you can't tell us anything, but just so that we can, in somewhat more detail than here, or let you know what our concerns are. I mean, we'd be working in the dark because we don't know what
You told us your concerns.
well, we maybe, you know, there's lots and lots of concerns. We can't necessarily go over everything.
How about if I meet with you, like I met with Dave privately, and you can give me the concerns? You know, I'm not
Okay.
trying to get you away from the podium, but I'll meet with you
No, I'm
tomorrow.
done anyway.
Okay.
I'm done. Finished
Okay,
anyway.
and then you'll, to tell them to me, and I will.
Okay, it might not be just me, but so then we'll just
if
do
you
it through you. That's good.
Sure.
That's good because
Absolutely.
you're a member of the committee.
I am.
So that would be helpful. Okay, thanks
good.
a lot.
Thanks. Okay.
Phil Kirsch, 93 Cedar Street. I was wondering if I know this has been discussed periodically before, but I was wondering if the township has come up with or made some progress towards a fair housing plan that they can submit to the courts in New Jersey.
Yes, it has been submitted to the court. The township some time ago commenced a declaratory judgment action, and that is now in the hands also of Judge Gardner.
So now it's up to the judge to accept or
Well,
reject?
No, there'll be hearings on it and a lot of legal argument concerning it. I think that will come in sequence, depending upon what he does with respect to the project we just discussed, the Chatham Road project.
And when that's fine, will that finally give us some kind of a plan as to how many units, something like that, something concrete, if that finally is accepted?
Well, it really presents, the planning board has prepared a housing element and fair share plan. That's what it consists of. It's part of the master plan. That has now been submitted to the court, and with the assistance of the township planner to demonstrate that this plan represents the reasonable prospect that Millburn has to fulfill its obligation to provide a reasonable opportunity for low and moderate income housing. Yes, that's supposed to be if that were to be approved, then there would follow a period of time during which no builders' remedies lawsuits could be brought, and the township would have what's called a period of repose, during which presumably that plan would be implemented as best it could. But you're right, I mean, it is the defining element.
And is that in the current master plan?
Yeah, it was
read it?
adopted by the planning board, I think in July. Is that correct?
It was last year.
Yeah,
Good, I'm glad to hear it. Thanks.
sure.
Anybody else?
Deborah Nevis, 65 Knoll Road. It's a Chatham Road night. So I just wanted to follow up when I was here a couple of weeks ago in terms of the traffic issue. I'm wondering whether you had a chance to let the special master know about the pedestrian accident that occurred January 8th. You'd said that you would follow up.
Yeah, we haven't had a
Yeah,
meeting.
we
I haven't had a
haven't
chance
met
to
with
meet.
him.
Okay.
Would be the occasion when that would be.
Okay, a thought that I had when I was thinking about it after I was here a couple of weeks ago is whether there's going to be any kind of traffic study done.
When their plan comes through, there would have to be a traffic study, right?
Yeah. At some point, there would be a site plan application made to the planning board, at which time those kinds of considerations, the typical site plan zoning considerations that are involved with any particular project, that would be the appropriate time to bring that forward and for the planning board to take a look at it.
Right, but that would occur after Township Committee had already voted on the agreement.
Yes.
So my question
that
is, would there
follows.
be a traffic study before that so that you can make a more informed recommendation to the special master about the impact of traffic on whatever Silverman is proposing?
Well, I don't know for sure, but let me ask the township planner, who is reviewing this matter very carefully, and raise with him the issue of a traffic study during the course of the mediation.
Okay, because I think
Thereafter.
it's, given what happened January 8th, and the fact that, 10,000 square feet is going to be dedicated to Summit Medical Group, and that, doctors tend to start their office hours around anywhere between 7:30 and 8:30 in the morning, which is when a lot of people are either commuting to the train station or walking their kids to Glenwood. It would seem like being able to anticipate what the impact of increased traffic is going to be on all those people would be important before you agree to 60 apartments or 40 apartments or 10,000 square feet or 8,000 square feet, that we have some idea of what the impact of all of those cars are going to be in agreeing to a number with Silverman.
That's a good point.
Okay.
Thank
All right.
you.
Thank you.
Next.
Janet Pizar, 186 Main Street, Millburn, New Jersey. As we move to May 2019, we are approaching the 10-year anniversary of Millburn's research and investigation in committees to study the traffic flow in the downtown that led us to the Complete Streets project. And as that project was implemented, there was a great amount of turmoil and anger and discussion and controversy about many people and constituencies that felt excluded from that process. So in that vein, I'm asking if the PACT, the Pedestrian and Circular Traffic Panel, can be open to the township, whereby now people will have the opportunity to participate on the lowest level. Now, I know it would need to be regulated, and that's entirely understandable, whereby members of the public could not ask questions, and everything might have to be submitted in writing to be considered by the panel and then responded to. But it seems as though if we don't want to make the same mistake again, if a mistake was indeed made, it would be an excellent opportunity to have the public participate at the lowest level. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else for public comment?
A quick one. Dave Cosgrove, 99 Oakview. Is there a date set for the next mediation session?
No.
Okay. Thanks very much.
The Millburn's committee is first going to review the plans that have come in, and then somewhere down the road there would be a mediation session.
All right. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I was expecting an answer.
I take it under advisement. No, that's good. Thank you, Janet. Jennifer, we've switched public comment to now, so now would be your time.
Thank you. Hi, Jennifer Duckworth, 82 Linden Street, Millburn, New Jersey. I wanted to thank Jackie for attending our PTOC meeting last Friday, and for Tara for agreeing to be our representative, and for the mayor for starting a committee that will deal with pedestrian safety in our town. I am representing the Millburn PTOC safety meeting, and I'm thanking all of you, but we do have some concerns because of the representation on the committee, that the schools are not represented, and that we meet, just so everyone has background, our group meets once a month in the Board of Ed Center, and we have representatives from all the schools. Alex, also, thank you for coming to our meeting. Sorry. And Jesse comes from the township also. And we also have representation from the School Business Administration, the Board of Ed, and the PTOC representative. And so we have all these representatives, and we talk about safety issues around all the schools. We talk about crossing guards and have gotten some commitments from Alex that the town has committed to follow up with us, with the police department being invited to our next meeting, to provide a map with the list of locations for all the crossing guards, to provide a job description of the crossing guard position, and to provide all the updated times for the crossing guards. We have a chart that I've provided to you. I was here in December, and I had shared that with everybody, and we're just trying to make sure that our times all align with the schools, because currently they're out of alignment, and so I know we're working with the town on this. We also are asking for 15-mile-an-hour school zones around all the schools. We're asking, we would really like to see a presentation of the annual crash data. We had a representative from New Jersey Bike and Walk Coalition come and speak to us, and he provided an overview of how their transportation committees have been set up in Livingston, West Orange, and Montclair. They've been working through Essex County to try to figure out how to best work with towns. And so they have all these recommendations. Alex heard some of them and got the contact information from Andy Anderson. And so we're hoping that maybe he can help with all of these. But one of the things is the communication. And with Tara not sitting on the ad hoc committee, we're just a little concerned that we'll have these meetings and then the decisions won't be made. And so one of the recommendations from the New Jersey Bike and Walk Coalition was that we have people who can make decisions in the room, such as the police department, to attend the meetings. So we're hoping that there's the representatives who can make decisions, and that if that you would consider to have a permanent transportation committee that is not ad hoc, that has its own bylaws, its own members, that it goes from year to year, and that it has some sort of continuity. There's been, there was a bike and bike studies that have been done. There are transportation plans that could be written, and so we all are asking that there be a longer term plan put in place with representatives, like Janet had mentioned, from different organizations. Right now you have a great core group, but we would ask that maybe the school business administrator also be on that, who can make...
I hear everything you're saying. I've seen all the emails. We have to have a starting point. And right now, this committee just has to start somewhere. And right now, we're going to start by looking at some of the issues that have been left downtown. Because right now, there's a lot of issues. I know there's issues at the schools, but you have the PTOC. I'm going to be meeting with Superintendent. Wait, let me finish.
Yes.
I'm going to be meeting with Christine, and we have to parse things out. If we try to do everything, I promise you, Jennifer, nothing will get done. It's too difficult to have such a broad scope. So right now, we're working on the Short Hills train station, which is pedestrian and vehicular circulation issues. We will have to hire an engineer for the Millburn train station because we can't do that. We have to look at some of the smaller issues that have been left. We don't have the $5 million to do everything. So we're going to start, and we're going to make some recommendations to Township Committee, and the schools are not being ignored. And I have to meet with Christine to find out really what she's recommending also. And we're going to do those things. So if you just give us a chance to start, and we're going to do it. We can't do everything.
May I also remind you that this group was established to develop priorities, and we developed priorities at each of the schools that were supposed to be looked at. One of them was that crossing guards at Hobart and Chatham and Forest, we had asked last year, and then that there be some kind of traffic study done all along that avenue where the pedestrian was struck. We also, fortunately, were able to meet for the middle school to deal with traffic circulation issues there. So that was a positive. That was one of our priorities that's being addressed.
In piecemeal.
There's a priority of a crosswalk at Bodwell Terrace across from the Ed Center. That's a priority.
Oh, wait, let me ask you a question. Okay, so your list can go on and on.
No. Each school has one priority that we have shared with Alex that we're bringing forward, and we would just like our priorities to be integrated into the priorities that the township has. And that could be done through having a plan, and we would just like that all of our work that we've put into developing these priorities, that these also be carried forth when you move forward with your priorities, and that those be considered.
We will try to incorporate
Hobart and White Oak Ridge Road going into.
We discussed that. There are some logistic concerns that we can't just put a light in, but we are working on making that happen. And to put the light in from the time we do it, it's still a 6-month window. So we have to start.
It's approaching the schools and just looking at that, doing a traffic study around Hartshorn and White Oak Ridge at that intersection. We do have priorities. They're all in the minutes. I'm glad that you get them. I didn't know that they were being forwarded to you.
No, I've never gotten them before, but I will look forward to getting. We've never had a communication before.
Well, thank you for sharing them with everybody. Thank you.
Hi, Catherine Dorm, 29 Byron Road. So I'm alluding to some of the same issues. In January, over 200 people in town signed a petition asking the Township Committee to form a permanent traffic and safety advisory committee with an open application process for membership and a mandate to include the full range of stakeholders in our town, all residents, parents, and commuters, as well as downtown business owners and liaisons from the police, the schools, the PTOC Safety Committee, which again, whose purpose is student safety to and from all township schools. At the last township meeting, the mayor unveiled a new ad hoc committee, PACTS, Pedestrian and Circulation Traffic Safety Committee, to address traffic and safety concerns in Millburn. However, only downtown business owners and a representative of the South Mountain Civic Association were appointed as members. The schools, the PTOC Safety Committee, and the full community of commuters, senior citizens, parents, and residents were left out. Additionally, we learned at last week's PTOC Safety Committee that accordingly, the main focus of PACTS would be to address downtown safety, traffic and safety issues, particularly those arising from complete streets. However, traffic and safety concerns in Millburn are broader than those limited to downtown and complete streets issues, and almost all pedestrian, bicycle, and car accidents over the past 2 years occurred outside the zone of complete streets. The 2 tragic incidents of recent fatalities arising from pedestrian accidents in town occurred outside the zone of complete streets. Now, 236 people have signed the above-mentioned petition that now asks for the following modifications to PACTS. Specifically, we ask that the Township Committee please broaden the focus of PACTS to address all traffic and safety issues throughout the township, including the interests of all parents, students, schools, commuters, residents, and senior citizens, in addition to addressing complete streets concerns. Appoint members to PACTS that represent the full diversity of stakeholders in order to best represent the safety interests of the entire township, including all parents and students, commuters, residents, and senior citizens, as well as any necessary liaisons from the Millburn Township schools, the PTOC Safety Committee, and the advice of a traffic engineer. And finally, transform PACTS from a temporary ad hoc committee with a 1-year term into a permanent, independent, and robust advisory committee with its own set of bylaws and a formal resident application process so that all residents may have an opportunity to apply for appointment by the Township Committee as opposed to merely being appointed at mayoral discretion. There is so much work to be done to improve traffic and safety conditions in Millburn. Like Montclair, West Orange, and Englewood, we need an independent, permanent, and scientific traffic and safety advisory committee with an open and objective application process and a mandate to include the full diversity of stakeholders in our town and to address all traffic and safety concerns. Traffic and safety issues affect all of us on a daily basis, and we need a committee that is structured in a fair and complete manner so that we can begin the hard work of taking a comprehensive and objective look at all traffic and safety concerns in our township to identify solutions and make the necessary changes as soon as possible. And I would add that this will only assist you in identifying what you need to focus on. This will not preclude you from getting work done. This PTOC Safety Committee that has been in existence for 5 years is capable of getting together and with intelligent people and identifying in detail what the priorities are. And by only having a limited scope and a limited number of viewpoints, you are missing that opportunity. And you don't want to make the same mistakes as you did with Complete Streets, the last few campaign cycles of being concerned about leaving people out. The time is now to include everybody. And you need to have more than just business owners and South Mountain Civic Association. Otherwise, you are losing trust that you are including everybody, including all the important issues. So I guess that's what I have to say. And there's no reason not to do this. There's every reason to do this. And at the last PTOC Safety Committee meeting, Andy Anderson from the New Jersey Bike Walk came, and he explained he has helped West Orange, he has helped Montclair set up these committees, and this is how it needs to get done. It needs to be inclusive, it needs to be thorough, and it needs to be as objective as humanly possible. And right now, you have one baby step, but it doesn't go nearly far enough. And you're missing an opportunity to include...
Thank you. I hear you. I really
to
do.
include very intelligent, very resourceful people in our town. Okay?
We haven't had a first meeting yet. We're having our first meeting. We will discuss everything you've brought up.
Okay, well, it just does not go without notice, and people are very concerned about the recent accidents. So, and let me just say, I understand things take time, but there are certain things that have been brought up again and again over the years. And if you have a committee that is scientifically gathering the information, it wouldn't have gone on this long. I posit that Hobart and White Oak Ridge would have been way further along. We have known for years this is the most dangerous intersection in town. Okay, so a committee that is formed in a scientific, objective manner would have most likely addressed this by now.
Okay, thank you. I hear you.
Okay,
I really do.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lynn Ranieri, 94 Oakview. One very small request. If you're going to be looking at things like the Short Hills train station, would you look into the feasibility of perhaps having those poles with a push button that flashes when a pedestrian's ready to cross, particularly if it's a spot where you can't put a light? A little further down the road, maybe at the section where Annie says was to, is hazardous to pedestrians.
Right. Those are all the things when we have our meeting at the library. We want the input. We want everyone's suggestions. Those are really important. Thank you.
Thank you.
Janet, would you like to speak again? Thank you.
Can't stop shaking my head. I want to thank my predecessor before, Lynn Ranieri, for bringing up those points. You have to admit it's pretty ironic for so many people who sit on this council tonight to talk about all the exclusions and how the business community was excluded from the downtown Complete Streets project, and how the South Mountain section had all the fallout and the traffic and the cut through and the thoroughfare that came. You have to admit now that the exclusion is the other way. I was really very disappointed to learn that, because 2 weeks ago I was sick, that PAC was proposed and it was already impaneled with the people who had been handpicked. And we know how closely affiliated you've been with the downtown business community, business people, and the South Mountain District. So if that isn't really pointing this committee, this panel, into a biased avenue, I don't know what is. It really needs to be opened up. And it needs to be opened up to people who have had the interest for 10 years in the traffic in the downtown and the opportunity to join in. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else before we continue with our business portion of the evening? The committee will now consider consent agenda resolutions. The resolutions listed on the consent agenda for consideration are as follows. The bills list: authorized refund for tax overpayments, authorized refund of redemption monies to outside lien holder, establish the 2019 sewer usage charge. There was a very small increase, and that had to do with, we had passed by resolution or ordinance for the joint meeting, has doing some major sewer work down in Elizabeth. That's going to help everybody. Authorized to apply and accept sub-grant award of Department of Law and Public Safety for Emergency Management Performance Grant Program. Funding for the Chief Financial Officer to certify the available of funds. Award contract for mowing and trimming of large turf areas. Approval of raffle licenses. Approved closed session immediately following to regular meeting personnel and contract negotiations for Millburn Township professional service contracts. Do I have a motion to Oh, I'm sorry, are there any comments from the committee or public in regards to any items listed on the consent agenda?
Yes, from the committee. I want to
Yes.
exclude 19-064, the refund of tax overpayments, as a separate item for vote, as I know somebody on that list.
Oh, okay.
So, otherwise I'd have to abstain from the whole thing.
Oh, we don't want you to have to do that. So how do we just move that off?
You just move it over.
Well, I make a motion when this part of the comment is
Okay.
done. So, there may be others who have questions here.
I'll second the motion.
All right, so I will move then to,
No, wait a minute.
she has to finish this part of it, then I'll make the motion.
We don't need a motion. If any member requests the removal of an item from the consent list, it gets removed.
It's you.
Oh, you've requested that. so
Yeah,
we'll
clearly,
have a
Sam.
separate consideration of that. That's fine.
All right. So, that's been seconded and moving on. May I have a motion to approve the resolutions listed on the consent agenda except 19064?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Roll call.
Ms. Burstein? Yes. Mr. Levy?
Yes.
Ms. Lieberberg?
Yes.
Ms. Krupas?
Yes.
And Mayor Falego?
Yes. Okay. So may I have, are there any other comments from the public?
No, move 1906.
Okay, so now, may I have a motion to move resolution 19064?
Move to approve resolution 19064.
May I have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Burstein? Yes. Mr. Levy?
Abstain.
Ms. Lieberberg?
Yes.
Ms. Krupas?
Yes.
Mayor Falego?
Yes. Okay. Ordinance number 2524-19. Committeewoman Lieberberg is scheduled to sponsor this ordinance.
I would like to present an ordinance entitled Township of Millburn, ordinance number 2524-19, ordinance to amend and supplement Chapter 3 of the revised general ordinances of the Township of Millburn to prohibit short-term rentals. The purpose of this ordinance is to prohibit the advertisement by various means concerning the availability of a property for a short-term rental, a use prohibited pursuant to the zoning ordinance of the township and by this ordinance. The purpose of this ordinance is to prohibit short-term rentals in our community, and short-term rentals are defined as anything less than 30 consecutive days. I believe this ordinance will preserve the residential integrity and character of our neighborhoods. I believe this will protect our residents, prevent the encroachment from unknown inhabitants, and any ancillary issues that could develop in our township. I move that this ordinance be taken up and passed on first reading, and that the township clerk be authorized to have the ordinance published in accordance with law and in the item and for hearing and final passage on Tuesday, March 19th.
May I have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Burstein? Yes. Mr. Levy?
No.
Ms. Lieberberg?
Yes.
Ms. Krupas?
Yes.
And Mayor Falego?
Yes. Ms. Bernstein?
I would like to present for an ordinance entitled Township of Millburn, ordinance number 2525-19, ordinance to amend and supplement Article 6 of the Development Regulations and Zoning Ordinance of the Township of Millburn to prohibit short-term rentals. The purpose of this ordinance is to make short-term rentals a prohibited use under the zoning ordinance of the township. This is the sister ordinance, so to speak, of the ordinance that Ms. Lieberberg just introduced. And in order to effectuate the other ordinance, we have to make short-term rentals a prohibited use under the zoning ordinance. I move that this ordinance be taken up and passed on first reading, and that the township clerk be authorized to have the ordinance published in accordance with law in the item and for hearing and final passage on Tuesday, March 19th, 2019.
May I have a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Bernstein?
Yes.
Mr. Levy?
No.
Ms. Lieberberg?
Yes.
Ms. Krupas?
Yes.
And Mayor Falego?
Yes. Okay, we have an item of old business about canvassers and solicitors, and a proposed ordinance that Mr. Falcon, our township attorney, would like to address for us.
Yes, I have circulated an ordinance quite similar to the one that had been suggested before, which is designed to bring Millburn's ordinance into compliance with cases that have been decided that over the course of time have somewhat limited in one respect the ability of municipalities to regulate solicitors and canvassers, but which have reemphasized on the other side, which I've included in this ordinance, the right of any resident to, one, put their name on a non-distribution list, which would be handed out to anyone who took out a solicitor or canvasser permit, and two, place a sign near the entrance to their residence, which would indicate that the owners of the property do not wish to have the doorbell rung or do not accept any solicitors or canvassers, which time they would just eliminate their property from being available to persons in these businesses or causes or anything else to come to the door and seek to sell their wares or sponsor their causes.
Right, so as it stands now, people have to get a permit to canvass,
Yes.
but this would strengthen that by, we would have a no-call list in essence, and that you would put your name on this list. So if someone comes for a permit to canvassing, they would be provided this list, and we don't have a lot of canvassers coming into town. They would be provided with this list, and they would know 22 Ocean Hills Road, they cannot go to that house. Or if you don't want to put your name on the list, or in addition to that, you could put a sign on your door, we do not allow solicitors, and they would not knock on your door. If they do, you could lodge a complaint, and they could be fined and or arrested.
There's one
Oh,
caveat that I want to
yes.
put to the way you've described this. I want to make sure that everybody understands that that is applying to commercial solicitors and canvassers. If you're a candidate and you want to go and hand out your literature door to door, you need not come to the town and get a permit first. But it would still be up to the homeowner if they did not even want to receive that sort of information or literature, they could still post their property. But it's the non-commercial people.
Like magazine sellers?
Yeah, the commercial people have to get a permit, the non do not.
So if you're like working for an environmental group and you're going around looking for contributions or just wanting to get information, would they need a permit?
No.
Okay, so they're excluded, commercial, okay. So will we have this ordinance?
If you're prepared to have me move forward to put it in form so you can introduce it, I'll do that.
I believe it should be moved forward. How does the committee feel about that? Do we have a consensus? Verbal?
Yes.
This end?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so we will move that, thank you.
I will prepare.
Okay, do we have any new business, any committee people? Mr. Reedy?
Yeah, just a small matter of new business. A lot of people have been inquiring. Both Diane and I are up for election. On behalf of myself, I do not intend to be a candidate. I am moving back to New York from where I came during the next 2 years. I will not be a candidate for Township Committee, but I encourage all Democrats, intellectually honest Democrats who want to serve on this committee to contact the Democratic Committee and announce your intention to run. We need a lot of good candidates. Appreciate the time that I have served, but I'll conclude my time as of December 31 this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam.
Thank you. So I have some new business to talk about. When was this? On January 25th, I went to the planning conference, and Miriam Salerno, who is the vice chair of the planning board, and I both ended up in a presentation that was labeled "What the hell is happening to retail?" And we sat through it, and we both came out of that and were talking about what the presentation and thought that it would be a really good idea potentially to bring this group, this man, his name is Joe Getz from the JGSC group, to Millburn to do some market research and help us fill the vacancies in our town. So I have he sent us Miriam and I have been in communication with Joe, and he sent us a proposal, which I have you all gotten a chance to read it? Yes. Cheryl, you got it? Okay. I'm just gonna read the beginning of it to the, out loud. Okay. Following our conversation, I reviewed the update master plan, news articles, and other information to learn more about your community. Based upon my review, here's where I think we may be able to help you. Bring more shoppers to your stores by revealing who's missing from your consumer mix and attracting them to the downtown. Create a more vibrant mix of retailers by identifying new retail stores, restaurants, and other businesses that should be recruited to downtown Millburn. Fill vacant storefronts by providing property owners with the information and marketing support they need to recruit new retailers and restaurants. Grow foot traffic in the local economy by recruiting new residential development. And create more visually appeal to encourage more shoppers to visit and stay longer through improvements to facades, streetscapes, signage, and more. So then he goes on to say that the JGSC group is uniquely qualified to create an effective retail strategy and to implement the strategy with our tested retail recruitment program. From our experience, we've learned that most vibrant downtowns share these common traits. They are proactive rather than waiting to see who shows up. They understand the retail preferences of their residents, shoppers, and visitors, and they know who is missing from the downtown and what it will take to bring them there. They use a fact-based strategic plan to guide their business and consumer attraction efforts. So this is where he would come in, do, the first level would be doing market research on what our community and all the stakeholders want. And then he would help us to develop a strategic plan to attract and bring in new consumers and retailers. So what I would like to talk about is that I would like to invite Joe to come in and give us a presentation. I spoke to him on March 5th. He's available to come. And that way we can all ask him questions and kind of learn more about what he does. And again, Miriam, who's the chair of the vice chair of the planning board, has been working with me on this. So
I think the only way to find out if it's a viable solution is to meet him and see really what he provides, what his fees are, what his success in other towns have been, and the only way is to ask him directly. So I would encourage inviting him in for a presentation.
Right, so just a little bit more background that we spoke to Jeff Bueller, who is the director of what was Main Street, New Jersey, which is gonna be reinstated. And we asked him if anybody else in New Jersey did this. Right now, he's the only person, and he's been in neighboring towns, and he's familiar with our town. So, you know, because we don't have a DMDA anymore right now, we're hoping that this could be the start of moving in that direction of a new organization coming forth. So
I think it's a great idea. As you know, as I told you, it was something that I wanted to move forward with, perhaps not with him, a couple of years ago.
Right.
I think it's really important to bring somebody in to help us because we can't do it ourselves.
Right.
Well, I think it'd be important to know what his fees are. It's important to know what success he's had in other towns, and these are things we can ask him directly.
Right, and the fee structure is in, and I know Sam
You'd
has
have
some
to
more
present
questions.
that,
Right, for sure. Right, so
right,
he's
right.
gonna come in, give us about a 20-minute presentation. I thought that was long enough about.
And that's for free, no fee on that one.
No fee on that one.
Sounds good.
Is March 5th the next meeting? Is that, okay,
Great. Thank you.
okay, good, thank you, Tara.
And before we finish, I'd like to just follow up with what Ms. Dorham was talking about before. I think that although you said you were going to discuss it at your meeting, this possible widening of a committee, that's really for the township committee to discuss, whether we think that that's an appropriate long-term committee as opposed to an ad hoc. And I do think that it should be a topic of conversation. It's really, traffic throughout the township is important, and I think that their concern should be well received by us and really should be considered to have a long-term, impactful committee, inclusive.
Right, well, we had a start, it's a starting point, and as far as the people on the committee, there is somebody who lives in the Wyoming section, it's not, there's one person from South Mountain besides myself. There's somebody who lives by Lake Drive. I mean, it's not just South Mountain, and it's a starting point. And we have to start somewhere, and I believe this is what we're gonna do, and we can absolutely talk about where it should move forward. And the PTOC has a liaison now who will bring their concerns. I will be meeting with Christine. There is a lot to do in town, and it can't all be done by one committee in one meeting. And I think by coming to township committees is the first step, that you're airing your concerns to us, and we're all here to listen.
Well, I think, though, that their concern was raised, and I think it's a question for all five of us, as to whether or not we think that that's an appropriate committee. And so I think that that's something,
No.
and I think that's something that the five of us should be discussing, and if the five of us decide not to move forward with it, it's one thing, but it's something that the five of us should be discussing.
Sure.
Could these be two separate committees if
Of course.
PAX is just focusing on the downtown, to have another committee that is focusing on other areas of
Or
the
the whole
town?
The whole. You certainly could.
Okay. Okay then.
Move to adjourn.
Second. All in favor, before you all jump up?
Aye.
It runs out of the room.
We have to go to closed session. No, give it to
So I
you.
got an email that somebody has in South Mountain is been renting out their home for.
I'll try to be relatively quick.
No, she said she is.
I do not mind.
All right.
You should get a better looking person like Alex.
Just for another thing at work, I need to. That's fine, yeah, that's fine. Just make sure that I've got here, there's something at work that I need.
Yeah.
Is that where you work?
I do. This has only been a temporary gig for me.
All right, well, you had some fun.
I did. Thank you. Yeah, I think we should have. I wanted to do it. But I'm moving back to New York, so. Try back to Manhattan.